Awesome that you're joining us. My name is Farouk Hunter. I am the chairman of Freedom Nation, and I am also the chairman of these wonderful organizations, Coastal and Genius Co Support Services, that are all here to help us with our mission to provide spaces of peace and prosperity for Black Americans. Currently, we've started an initiative called the Black Competitiveness Initiative to fully take advantage of our positioning in Central Asia, Southeast Asia, Africa, and the United States, where we run multiple businesses, including fulfillment and sourcing services for the last 5 to 10 years, depending on the location. Now, the Black Competitive Initiative is an effort to offer fully automated, let me say it again, fully automated ability to you to exclusively sell to and create thousands of independent retailers by owning an automated wholesale center. Now, as we get into the presentation, we're going to take about 30 minutes of your time, and I guarantee you that every single slide is worth it. It'll introduce new information that you might not know, and then information that you absolutely do not know. The information, even if you decide that what you want to do is go out and start your own business or do your own thing without our help, without our assistance, I am telling you for a fact that you will want the information that is in this presentation. It's free and it's worth at least 30 minutes of your time. First, we're going to go through the state of Black business. After we do that, we'll break down into why wholesale. Why are we talking wholesale instead of other things? We'll talk about a path to success and how you get there. And then we'll tell you about the actual opportunity and what you can do to actually build this. I'll start off by telling you that when we end this, this is going to end off. I'm going to be a spoiler. It's a spoiler. This is going to end off with you taking the equivalent of a portion of your tax money, a portion of your tax return, with you taking a portion of your monthly income, $2,500, $3,500, and then taking that and turning it into a full-fledged business without ever putting another dime in it. And I'll get into exactly how that works. Let's jump into the presentation. First of all, let's talk about Black business. Let's get rid of some notions that we might have, and let's set a baseline for where we are. Black-owned businesses in the United States. These numbers come from the U.S. Department of Commerce. They are generated from the IRS based on information that's given by the tax reports and an additional survey of Black-owned businesses. So when we talk about Black-owned businesses, we should know kind of one thing, right? So here's the first thing. We represent 16% of the population in the United States of America. Out of that 16%, only 2% of U.S. businesses are Black-owned. Less than 1% of the revenues of those businesses in all of the U.S. come to Black-owned businesses. 2% of our Black-owned businesses, we represent 2% of the retailers in the United States. We represent less than 1% of the wholesalers in the United States. Now, this is the truth. It's a solid, stone cold truth. I don't like it. You shouldn't like it, but it's where we're at. And you might not have thought it was this bad. Now, to give you a baseline and compare this to another minority group in the U.S., let's look at the Asian population. Asian Americans make up about 4% of the populace in the U.S. From that 4%, 25, let me say it again, because it's kind of unbelievable to me. 25% of the retailers in the U.S. are Asian-owned. 50% of the hotels and restaurants, and 16% of all wholesalers. That is a humongous, disproportionate spread of businesses across the U.S., but it is reality. To go even further, let's talk about the state of those businesses. The average black-owned business earns about $61,000 in gross receipts. That's revenue. That's not what you get to keep. On average, we keep about 15%. So the average black-owned business makes less than $7,000. I didn't talk about the bottom, the median, the average. The average. That's our highest producers balanced out with our lowest producers. That's what we get. And I know we hear these statements about 1 million black millionaires. I know we hear these statements about all these other things going on in the black community, $1 trillion spend. And that's possible. But when you look at the numbers, the 1 million black millionaires are being judged by the cost of their house, which in some cases represents half of that. The rest is in their cars and some in their earnings. This is only referring to a small set of people that in most cases are at work earning $150,000 or $100,000 a year, and then after the 100 grand are spending 80% every single year to 90% just to survive and maintain that expense that makes him a black millionaire. Rubber meets the road, that's reality. Compared to Asian minority firms and Hispanic minority firms, the average is $184,000 a year, with an average profit margin of 20%, meaning that the take home of the average business is about 40 grand a year. Now, that's not the greatest earnings, but you can definitely survive off of it. Eat soup, but you can definitely survive off of it. But non-minority firms in the United States on average make $636,000 a year. Those are humongous differences. Let's look at one more line. Gross receipts, $128 billion. Yep, that's it. Black businesses earn $128 billion collectively across 3 million companies. Other minority firms make $1.4 trillion, more than 10 times that, 1,000% of black-owned businesses. And non-minority firms make $13 trillion. Now we should understand it's larger than what the United States uses as its annual budget. That's how big it is. And that's how much we're cut out of it. Well, let's not get depressed. Let's get into it. Most black-owned businesses actually exist in southeastern United States and the northeastern United States. With the exception of Texas and California, that is where we're mostly held up. So to break it down a little bit more, I have two groups here. One has gross receipts, $250,000 and above, and one gross receipts less than $250,000. It represents the amount of businesses that are in manufacturing, wholesale, and retail across the top states that black-owned businesses are actually set up in. When I say very few can pay the bills, what I mean by that is that $250K at 15% margin brings you 50 grand home. If you're making less than 50K, then you fall into this other column here because most likely you cannot sustain this business alone. You're working a job, you're doing something else, blah, 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 whatever, but you are not sustained from this business. The majority of the businesses are here. The minority of the businesses are on the other side. If we break down just one, which is Texas, let's just take Texas, top producer, African-American owned businesses, black-owned businesses. We'll see that in total, there's 35,000 businesses, 35,000 businesses black-owned in Texas. The ones that can sustain themselves, 10%, 3,900, 10%, 3,900, 10%. Most high schools in Houston have this many students. So consider one high school is successful and every other high school in the entire state is a failing. That's the equivalent of this. Out of that actual number, okay? I mean, the real actual number of manufacturers is 60. There are only 60 black-owned manufacturers in all of Texas, and that is the highest state in the whole country. There are only 105 wholesalers and 280 retailers. It's pretty bad. So the question becomes, why wholesale? Let's get out of the numbers. We see that. I don't know about you. It depresses me a little bit. I don't like it. For one thing, I know that as a black American, I work my butt off. And I know you work your butt off. And I know that we are not in any way, shape, form, or fashion, under any condition, slouches. We are workers. We hustle, we persevere, we push through. So to have those numbers, quite frankly, it just makes me feel no so good. So let's talk about how to fix it. Wholesale. In the last year, 5.4 million companies registered in the United States. So in the last year, I want you to understand this. More companies registered in the U.S. than exist in African American businesses. 5.4 million to be exact. Compared to just 6 years ago. Just 6 years ago. That's 50 to 60% higher. It is the most businesses ever registered in the United States at 1 year since its existence. And you see steady growth and steady going down year over year, but this year we just climbed into another state. Call it inflation, call it just not making enough money, definitely call it the cost of goods, and the reality of what it costs to live in the U.S. is driving people to do this. A couple of numbers to throw around this. It's increased 34% after COVID. 68% of these new are Gen Z. That is between 16 and 40. There are a total of 35 million businesses altogether. So 5 million is a considerable number. And 200% more businesses in operation than 7 years ago. Now, black ownership is growing faster than every single other space. Literally, black-owned businesses are registering at a pace that is faster than any other pace in 30 years. However, the majority of that registration is happening in transportation and warehousing. And we spoke about that. Most small businesses that register in transportation, they're actually just driving in a truck, right? Like I said, not knock it, good money. However, if you were in California 5 years ago and you were driving truck, you got it at $3.85 a mile. Now, even the senior truck driver can only cover about $1.50. That's 3 times less than what he was using to build that empire. So trucking is suffering under the hands of mass retail. And in addition to that, they're under the threat, humongous threat of automated trucking. Humongous threat of automated trucking. Humongous. The retail trade is the space where people are finding their happy space. Going into retail literally has grown 80% registration of retail businesses in the United States. This is where people are finding their happy space. Where they're not is in wholesale. There's only been a 20% growth in the wholesale space. That's minuscule. That's minuscule. That's minuscule. And most retailers buy from wholesalers, so it kind of doesn't make sense. That creates an opportunity that we're going to get into a little bit later. Most retail businesses registrations are highly concentrated to the Southeast. So as you can see here, literally those companies not only that are registering in retail, but also that have the opportunity to immediately start hiring employees are in the Southeast. Huge opportunity in the state of Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, in those areas. Let me put this in perspective in a nice little picture. Basically, in 2019, there were 285,000 wholesale businesses in the country. Now that's black owned, whatever owned, blah, blah, blah. 640,000 retail businesses that have to buy from those wholesalers. But in the last 4 years, we've seen a 225% increase on that ratio. That ratio is important because if you broke it down to how many customers are available for each wholesale business, that has increased 225% from 350,000 wholesalers to 1.5 million retailers. So the customers, and this is not like just a customer, you're at a store, you sell lollipops, you got 35 more customers, then you get 100 customers. No, the retail business to sustain itself has a monthly spend that supersedes $5,000 to $10,000 at minimum. At minimum. So even on the average level, that's $50,000 to $60,000. Excuse me, that's $50,000 to $60,000 a year in average spend on the low level. And if you had 2 customers yesterday, because you're a retail business, you had 3 customers actually, and then it increased to 5 or 7, then what that means is that you just brought in an extra $100,000, $200,000. And if you split it across the board, there's more money for more wholesalers than ever before because everyone's been talking retail and no one's talking wholesale. That has to change. Let's run it on a money perspective. Let's say you run a retail business. You got 100% of your money come in. Your cost of goods around 30%. You're doing good if you do that. However, your operation and fulfillment. Now look, you look at that 35%, you might question me, but fulfillment by Amazon charges 42% off the top. 42% off the top. Okay? So that's not an unfair number. 35% I've got here gives you only 25% to put the admin and marketing and sales, and a net profit of 15%. We talked about that. And if you take a little bit to yourself, you might be able to reinvest 5% back into the business. Retail is hard. Okay? Retail is hard. It's crowded. There's a lot of things out there. It's a lot to compete. On the other side, now I'm looking at near manufacturing wholesale like we offer here in Kazakhstan, in Central Asia, for Black Americans, right? Which is where I'm shooting this video from, by the way, just in case you were wondering. Your flow of money in a near manufacturing situation, 100% in, cost of goods can be lower, but literally or typically 10%. 10% of the revenue driven in. The operating costs and fulfillment costs are low because of our labor costs, because of our rental costs, because of everything. Even to buy the facilities, we sell micro warehouse facilities, 1,000 square feet. They are essentially ridiculously lower price than what's in the US. So you can cover that at 10%, all your fulfillment operations, QC, everything. And the admin, marketing, and sales, you can dump the lion's load of your funds into it, increase it so that you're selling. And remember, you're a wholesaler. You're selling to retailers. You have a larger budget if you put in 30% instead of 25%, because we said 25% before, right? So you have a larger budget. That's one thing. That's amazing all by itself. But then with having a larger budget, you're marketing to people who have a higher ticket value when they buy from you. It just makes sense. 30% and still take home 40% of your money. 40% of your money. And choose as net profit, which the best thing to do is reinvest somewhere between 20 to 30% back in growing your business. And you can dump that right back into increased inventory and increased marketing and sales. That should be sounding good right now. Now, increasing the representation in the entire chain is our goal. Wholesalers, retailers, and manufacturers, but we got a method to this. We want to start you out as a wholesaler. We want to help you build exclusive retailers. That means people that weren't business owners today that are part of that 5.4 million new businesses. No reason to go after the 30 million that are there already. Those are total businesses, not just retail. No reason. 80% of those brand new businesses are retailers that are just trying to figure it out. You come in as a wholesaler, introducing a system that allows them to buy your products and then go directly into business. The more you sell, the more you do, the more it makes sense to start looking into manufacturing. And our organization is dedicated to bringing that manufacturing back to the United States. So you wholesale from a foreign market where you can buy cheap, but you manufacture in your market where you can produce cheap under one condition, that you are fully automated and you have as much robotics going on in that place as possible. You're going to need capital to do that. So you start at wholesale, you get good margins, and you move into that space. That's our methodology. What does that look money-wise? Well, 70% gross margins, not net margins, what we talked before, 70% gross margins are possible as a wholesale business. If you're buying your product from a low-cost region of the world, you can still allow 60% gross margins for your retailers. That's sharing the wealth. That's locking in a lot of people. And when you transition to manufacturing, you can increase your gross margins to 90%. It's huge. It's huge. Remember, it's not how much money you make, it's how much money you keep. Give you an example of this in real time. On the right is Amazon, on the left is Alibaba. Now, I know this product because I have it in my drawer. I bought it in China, 35 cents. And I feel somehow that it's just not impactful to say it to you. I'll break from the normal format here to reach into my drawer in my desk and show you that I have this product in my hand. And I brought this product right here, not too far. I walked from our fulfillment center and purchased it for 35 cents. Same product. Doesn't look so pretty in my hand though. Same product, 35 cents. 35 cents. It is selling on Amazon right now for $14.99. That's a silicone reinforced, non-breakable charger, fast charger. Hold on, it's a wonderful thing. Okay? So this is real. It's not a joke, it's real. In those scenarios, there's plenty of room to give room to the retailer to make his money. You can charge him $6. If he pays $6, he's going to get 60% margin. But your 6 on 35 cents makes your gross margins tremendous. Tremendous. I mean, you have amazing gross margins. Amazing gross margins. Really awesome stuff. So let's talk about success. How do we get there? First of all, I want to tell you a little bit more about us. We are a company called Coastal. Now, Coastal is a part of the Freedom Nation. Freedom Nation is a Black-owned organization that is focused on developing environments of peace and prosperity for Black Americans. We are directed specifically at solving unique problems that hinder our ability to grow, compete, and live peacefully. We have built an organization in Central Asia called Coastal. Coastal is a Kazakh word that means connected. And we are connected to you. It is a management firm and a fulfillment and sourcing firm. We do fully automated management out of our offices here. And we also have wholesale spaces that we build on the Chinese border just in order to provide low duties, low cost sourcing and fulfillment to your businesses. In addition to that, as you can see, you see my big mug here, right? We actually have the spaces. We really do. We actually have special relationships. That right there is the chairman of the Postal Service of this country. And we signed a 3-year agreement to allow for special circumstances, costs, regulated information, and knowledge share between their organization. Basically, we signed an agreement that said, let's figure out how they can succeed by helping us. Everywhere we touch, we lay down a foundation that Black-owned business is the stuff. We are excited, motivated individuals, and it's best to bet on Black. We operate an office here, and for 20 years, we've been focused on operational management, supply chain efficiency, project management, program management for companies like Cox Enterprises, Manheim Auto Auction, John Wheeler Homes and Neighborhoods, some huge multi-billion-dollar companies, and we've brought that expertise to be here to represent and manage organizations just for you. We have a very specific way we do business. We get daily duty-free shipments from the region to Kazakhstan. A region means everything around us. We'll cover that next slide, but everything around us. What do I mean by that? Kazakhstan is a central authority. You might have never heard of the country before. That's acceptable. I'm good with that. My mama, even when I talk to her, she doesn't say Kazakhstan. She says Kazakhstan. She can't get it right. It's okay. Love you, mama. Mwah. Okay? But I'm from Alabama. We can't pronounce this place. What you need to know, though, is it shares a humongous border with China, and in that border is a free trade zone where we operate out of. What you need to know is it shares a huge border with Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, all that stuff. It takes 4 hours to fly to Turkey. It's got a direct flight for $100 to Malaysia. I can go into China and fly in there in less than 2 hours. I can fly into North Africa, West Africa, or East Africa, typically in about 5 to 6 hours from the time I leave out the airport here. It is access. It gives us ultimate access and access to transportation and logistics to move product anywhere. And because of that, we ship bulk air from the nearby airport in Almaty, Kazakhstan. We'll look that one up. And we ship every single day to the U.S. Our daily duty-free shipments to the U.S. come in under what's called CBP 321, which is the minimum value law. What it means is, and this is something we'll get into, we're not talking about containers of nothing. We're talking about shipments to your retailers that are under $800 per shipment per day. We're going to get into that. But that is duty-free into the United States. No taxes, no tariffs, no humongous costs. Okay? Beautiful thing. Beautiful thing. UPS, USPS priority mail to our customers. We work with the United States Postal Service through the relationship with the International Postal Service that connects over 135 different postal companies with each other to ensure your retailers get their product. Remember, the retailers now, they don't necessarily always need product in 3 to 4 days. They can do it. We do light bulk to your retailers. That means they order more frequently. Let me show you what this looks like. What we've done is we set up an organization called BESTCO, BESTCO, which I like to brag about, means Black Eastern Sea Trading Company. It does. There's a historical element to that. Won't get into it, but it's beautiful because it focuses on our ability to source from things past the Eastern Sea of the United States, from those countries, and bring products to you. You can see what I'm talking about here in this picture with me sitting inside Morocco with a manufacturer that was showing me bags. There's the same bag. Its cost, its true cost, is $15. That leather bag, handmade, is $15. Its wholesale cost can be $60. That's 4-time increase off of what you paid. And it can be retail for $120, which is only double the money. Now you might say it's $60, but think about it for 5 minutes. If I've got $120 in my pocket and I buy two and I multiply it, it's $240. If I got $120 in my pocket, then I can buy 8 of these, 9 of these, and sell them for $60. That's $540 in my pocket. That's increasing your money tremendous when you increase the margins. So please don't just think it's 120 bucks. Oh, it's a high ticket value. No, it's about your margins. It's about your margins. It's all about your margins. Another example. Let's look at that cord that I grabbed earlier. You remember it, right? There it goes there. It's another version of it. Okay. That cord can be sold for $650. It can be sold for $650. I just told you, with absolution, brought the cord for 35 cents. No MOQ, no minimum order quantity. And you can sell it for $650 wholesale. Why go into the retail market? Leave some room for the retailer. You can buy it. They'll buy 100, 200, 300 for you at a time. A regular consumer is only going to buy one. So why not spend your marketing dollars on somebody to buy a whole bunch more? Now, how do we do this? We source from Turkey, China, India, North Africa, Central Asia, everything. Anything that you get your hands on that we know can actually sell in the right way. What do I mean? Low cost, high quality, high retail value, with plenty of room for us to make sure you make money when you do it. We do the market research, we do the sourcing, everything. We operate in Kazakhstan. And this graph just shows you very simply a difference. That black in the back is operating in the United States and buying local in the US. That red back there is operating in the United States and importing products from the US. That white line, that operating cost, that low operating cost, is what happens when we operate in Central Asia and buy from the region. We focus on what's called just in time. And yes, I am getting a little technical here. There's 3 slides that are a little technical. I need you to keep up with me because they are core. They are really important to understanding exactly how this whole thing works. And the humongous difference is these 3 slides that if you implement them by themselves, even without us, you'll win. Even without us, you'll win. I'm telling you, I wouldn't lie. Seriously, the idea is to help our people, and you would win even if you just did this by yourself. Just-in-time inventory deals with the idea of a pull system versus a push system. Small or no inventory versus getting entire containers of inventory. Multifunctional labor, people that can do multiple jobs instead of just specialized labor. Total quality management, meaning 100% quality management, instead of just what most people who are buying from China, who have gotten to the point where they can buy an entire container of something and they're wholesaling or retailing, or they buy in the United States. They're only able to do about 10%, 20% quality management. We deal with total quality management and simple cost accounting. And that means we're going to churn everything on a simple churn, a monthly basis. We're going to look at our wins, our highs, our lows, what we can do in order to increase your business every month. What does that do? When you think about it like this, let's run the scenario. This is a t-shirt scenario. Let's say a t-shirt costs $4. Really nice, high-end, custom design t-shirt. You put your label on it, $4. You got to buy that from China or Indonesia. Simple. Doesn't matter if it's China, doesn't matter if it's Indonesia, doesn't matter wherever. You got to buy it overseas. You're not getting $4 in the U.S. for a custom cotton blend. Okay, cotton polyester blend, customized, like the fit, everything. Now, let's say the product can sell for 20 bucks. That's how much you get in the market for it. And let's say that you have a container which takes 80,000 shirts. That's how much shirts you can fit in a container. You're going to have to float 4 times 80 grand in order to get a container of shirts over. That's huge. And you need to do that to meet the MOQ of having a custom shirt on the ground in some of the foreign manufacturers. If you calculate like that, along with your shipping and your taxes, you need to pay when the production starts and float your money for up to 16 months. Huh? You said how 16 months? Simple. It takes about a month to produce, 2 months to ship, and total of 4 months from the time you thought of it to the time you got it in your hands before you can put that inventory online to sell. Once you start selling it and you have a gradual sell, you're going to sell anywhere between 30 to 60% of that inventory if you had the sales for it. And just a natural progression, okay? I've got here, we said our monthly operating costs, and we said we're going to sell 5,000 t-shirts a month. 5,000 t-shirts a month. Your reorder point will come at 12 months. The red line represents your break even. You break even somewhere right around 9 months, meaning I put real money out my pocket, a loan or something else like that, and then I didn't get my money back for 9 months when I was even flat. And I'm not even counting the cost of living, because you got to remember, you got 9 months of just living as a human being. You calculate that in, you're worse off. So you make any money off of this for 9 months. Then you start making some profit, but as soon as you start making profit, all your fast movers, all your items that people love the most will be gone. And you'll have to order again. And then when you do that, you'll go down again, and you won't see a real break-even point till 18 months. 16 months, basic break-even, 18 months, churn of ordering new inventory. That means you're slow by design. Even if you do this in the US, you're going to pay a lot more money. Your break-even point is still going to move way out. And even if you reduce the amount of time that it takes to order the inventory, it's still going to kill you. Because, yeah, I only have like a month to get the inventory from my American vendor, but it's 150 to 250% higher than the vendor overseas. So that means that when I put in the money to sell it, I got to sell more to get my money back. So it pushes out my break-even point further. So you're not going to beat it just because it's localized or international. This is just because of process. It's how you do it that's causing the problem. Now let me introduce you to another level. This is JIT, and it can only happen if you're sitting right next to your manufacturer. If you're not, you lose. If you're right next to your manufacturer, just like Ford said. So Ford, Toyota, these guys that came up with the JIT concept. A, you think about a product idea. You go and buy it. You do not order 80,000. You're right next to your manufacturer, and you do what we've done, which is convince manufacturers in several countries that we can buy low quantities more often. I was talking to a young lady who was a representative from one of the manufacturers in China back in October. And I said, listen, we don't care about your MOQ. We don't care. What I'll do is beat your MOQ. If you give me an MOQ today, I'll buy it from you. You won't hear from me for a year. But if you can reduce it down to what I can buy from you and spend in a month, you'll hear from me every month. The young lady said, oh, I don't know if we can do that. Her boss was there, overheard it, and said, oh, we absolutely can do that. I thought it was beautiful, because when they know their business, they know manufacturing, they understand that frequency supersedes buying in big, large quantities at one time. So we have the ability to negotiate purchase of inventory that you can sell in that month. And we only buy what you can sell in that month. Listen, this is so important. Don't buy more inventory than you can sell in a 30-day churn. Really, a 20-day churn. Don't. Excess inventory costs you money to store. It can go bad. Even if it's shirts, it can get mold. All your risk is in having too much inventory. You need to have a lot less. And when you have excess inventory, you don't have the cash to respond to the needs of your customers. There are huge companies that are paying billions to get people to implement JIT. They change their locations, they move their everything just because they understand how powerful it is to your business to be on a shorter term. We've achieved that for Black-owned businesses where they are today, here in our offices here. True break even because you buy the fast mover product only. You buy low quantities, only what you know you can sell in 20 days. And you sell it and you reorder according to your need and the changes in the market. So you can be responsive to your market changes on a 30-day basis. You hot. You hot. Retailer needs something, you can completely change the design and put out something new in 30 days time. You hot and you agile. Beautiful. Beautiful business. What does that also mean? Well, let's get into the opportunity. 80% of the businesses that I talk to, 80% of all Black-owned businesses fail in the first year. I want to get into why. Because it's not just inventory. It's not just this. There's a reason. There are 8 key reasons why these businesses fail. 1, they badly thought through their business plans. They didn't have any help. They didn't really calculate everything that could go right and wrong. There was no risk management or risk assessments involved. And most businesses are dealing with long plans, which increases failure. Lackluster market research, not knowing your market. That can also be just not responding to your market well enough. Bad team chemistry. Man, if you think that it's easy to build a team that can run your business, you can be down a year or two just trying to figure out the people who actually can do the work. And here's the worst part about that. One employer to somebody who wants to be one, hiring people who don't work out still costs you money. You still got to pay salaries to a bad worker, even if you fire him. And that's really tough. Cash flow issues. Most of us eat our cash and don't have the money to reinvest. Failure to adapt. Failure to adapt. We talked about that. That's not always about here, about how you think or how you analyze. Sometimes it's just the process by which you get in your inventory and by which you can do things that gives that failure. Unstable growth. Poor management. Look, no matter what we want to say, not all of us can manage all the parts of a business. There's marketing, sales, admin, there's production, operations, everything else. It is complex. And trying to do it alone or just with 1 or 2 people, it's a lot. You need a team and a good one that's in the right place. And I've already talked to you about eating your profits. But when I usually tell all of what I just said, when I give that presentation to most of my fellow Black-owned business owners, people that I love, listen, I want us to succeed. My little babies are little Black babies. I got 10 of them. They got to marry beautiful Black, well, they ain't got to, but we'd like them to marry beautiful Black people. We would like to see success from our own space, regardless of our differences of opinions and our ideals. Those can flourish. But we do better when we succeed. Simple. Every time I give this information, I'm always asked one thing. Please, Farouk, can you just make it simpler? Can you just make it easier? I don't disagree with what you're saying. I believe in you. But you're asking me to do something I've never done before. And quite frankly, the on-ramp is too complicated. Most companies don't break even for 5 years. It's because they don't know what they're doing when they go in. They haven't figured out the system. And there's a lot of points of possible failure. So after 2 years of thinking this through, we said we need to do it for them. We're excellent at managing projects. We're excellent at managing programs. So let's do the sourcing for the company. Let's do the fulfillment for the company. Let's do the marketing and sales for the company. And let's do the administration for the company. And let our black business owners be CEOs from day one. From day one, let's let them sit at the helm and make leaders' decisions. Let's stand behind them full force and give them everything they need. And let's do it in such a way where it doesn't break their bank and a lot of people can be involved. So we came up with this method. That's a lot to look at, so I'm going to break it down. This is real rubber meets the road. $3,500. Now look, this money don't necessarily just come to us. You try to build a website right now, it's $2,500. That's a cheesy one. $3,500 will allow us to register your business in the U.S. and register an equal business inside of our foreign market here in Kazakhstan so you can operate here. We are managing your business for you. It'll allow us to put up your website. Okay? It allows us to help develop the product that works for you. We'll find out what works, put our hands on it, we'll test it, knock it around, we'll put it into the market, make sure it runs, make sure people want to buy it. We'll do the market research with you, everything. Then, inclusion and integration to our wholesale marketplace, which we have online. So we do integrated marketing. We market to people, start a retail business, because we know there's a lot of people starting a retail business right now. Lots. We already talked about this. The growth is 80%. It's the second most common business registered in the United States at almost 5.4 million a year. There are millions of retailers coming online annually. Millions. So we market to them directly. We establish all your back-end software, CRM, accounting software, social accounts on all the social media accounts, social media tracking, online user tracking. We give you the cra of systems, things that work, things that we know work well. And we develop your initial staff. You don't have to. We develop. Immediately after that, we work with you to establish a $10,000 credit line. So when you come in, we want you to use credit in order to move forward. We don't want to use your cash, okay? Keep your cash. We help you. We've got sources that we can go to. You've got anywhere between like a 680 and above. We can work towards getting you 10,000. We can even help you repair your credit in some cases to get to the point where you can put that money in the bank. Question is, what is it used for? What is it used for? We use it for inventory and marketing. Okay? After that, we sell. We sell to your retailers. We would hope to get at least revenue 4 times higher than our inventory spend. Revenue 4 times higher than our inventory spend. We do all the order fulfillment. We do all the back end. We do everything. Then we pay your expenses. This is important. If you run the business by yourself, you're going to have to pay your expenses whether you make money or not. But when we automate and we manage the company for you, we pay the expenses only after you've made money. That is so important. It's our personal guarantee. Other folks do not do this. We make sure that we get paid only after you've gotten money in the bank. It goes to pay off your administrative costs, the fulfillment costs. It goes to pay off all the staff costs and everything else that wasn't paid in just inventory and marketing. It also, we do something other people don't do. We don't particularly just want to bind you in a space where you don't have your cost reduced. We want to constantly reduce your costs. So we actually buy a facility that we use the monies that you earn to pay down on. And in 5 years, you own a facility on the Chinese border. You own it. So your assets even grow in the midst of this process. After taking that, what might look to be around 27% out of the revenue, that's all your operating costs. All of them. Everything, 27%. Hey, that's pretty good. That's QC, fulfillment, everything. We take the remainder and we distribute it back out. So we try to hold on to something about 35, 40% of the money. Definitely we hold on to whatever was initially taken out of the line of credit. That's a must because we got to pay it down. We're going to pay it down in less than 30 days. We don't want to accrue interest. We don't want to get anything. We want to make sure that you have an interest-free, debt-free business. So we always have to return the money back to the pot within the 30 days. This is a 30-day cycle. The lion's share of the money that's left over goes back out to you after we pay into an operating fund. Now, the operating fund in this scenario is $5,000 compared to the $7,000 that you take and put in your pocket on a monthly basis. And I mean this for real. You put $2,500, $3,500 in to start your business. You got the line of credit and you put almost the entire value of the line of credit back in your pocket because we're running on a monthly basis. We took $5,000, put in the operating fund because we don't want to run on credit after 6 months to 12 months. We want to run holistically off the operating fund and use the credit as a backup just in case there's anything that happens that's unexpected. And then we get paid. That little $3,000 in the corner is us. That's how we earn money for doing all of this. Okay? That's how we earn money. But we get paid last. Only after everything works do we get paid. And if everything doesn't work, we don't get paid. We stand by our word. We stand by our abilities. Last but not least, we reinvest based on the projections that we had. Now, this is the end of the presentation, but it starts right there. We reinvest by paying down the credit line, in some cases extracting from the credit line, after 12 months extracting from the operating fund, using it as the credit line. And there you go. Every month, you're going to receive reporting. Every month, you're going to be told what's happening. Every month, you approve the purchases. Every month, you approve it's your business. But it's more important for you to run as a CEO. You will be the CEO. And there's nothing, nowhere, anywhere, nothing you can do to start a full-flown wholesale business located in a whole nother country with full access and full knowledge for $3,500. But we've created the system because we want to see more black businesses succeed, and we need tons more wholesalers. This is normally where we take Q&A, but this is a video. So what I want you to do is instead sign up. If you have any questions, look over in the right-hand corner. If you're on one of our websites, you'll see a bot named Sandra. She's there to answer your questions. You can always click Live Agent, and a live agent will talk to you right away. If we happen to miss you, we'll follow up with you. You can set up a call. We'll talk to you. But what I would suggest is give this a little thought and jump. What can you lose? If you try to start a business this year, I can guarantee you the registration for your LLC costs $500 by itself. So spending $3,500 to get it all done with something that's guaranteed is a pretty good deal. And that's the BCI. You can email us at memberservices@gc-usa.com, or you can visit us at freedomnation.me. And you can also visit the Black Competitiveness Initiative by searching in Google, or go to freedomnation.me and click on the BCI logos and icons in order to take you to the page. You'll see our video again, and then we'll solicit you. Otherwise, if you're looking at this presentation, most likely we'll email you, and we'll try to get you involved. It's something you don't want to miss. It really is a good deal, meant to make sure you succeed.